Hi guys, good evening and welcome back once again to the EdWord. I'm your host Eddie, and in tonight's video I will be discussing what I thought of the latest and very nostalgic episode we got for Star Trek Lower Decks, which dropped almost a week ago on Paramount Plus. I finally had a chance to watch it and enjoy it very, very much, just in time for the new episode that'll be dropping tomorrow as well. So before we get into all of that, please be warned, this is a spoiler-filled review, so if you haven't seen Star Trek Lower Decks and you were behind like I was with this episode, you don't want to keep watching or listening, as I will be going into spoilers, plot details, character stuff, all that jazz. That being said, you have been warned. Let's dive right back into it. First and foremost, how great it is to see Rom and Lita after all these years. I don't know if they've appeared since the Star Trek Deep Space Nine series finale. I mean, I'm sure the actors have appeared at conventions and whatnot, but I don't know if the characters have appeared anywhere since then. But it was so great seeing them in animated form, being voiced by their live-action counterparts again after all these years. That was so wonderful and made me feel all nostalgic for Deep Space Nine. And this was a good reminder to me where exactly the show takes place in the timeline. You know, it's set after Next Generation, and it's set long after the series finale of Deep Space Nine as well. You know, that would make sense with their episode that when they went to visit Deep Space Nine last year. And of course with now that Rom is still the Grand Nagus of the Ferengi Alliance. And it sounds like Ferenginar, with its more progressive ideas and regime change with Rom and Lita leading the Empire, it feels like they're more open-minded to diplomatic relations with the Federation, or possibly joining the Federation as a member, which is really interesting. So this episode was quite revealing with, you know, the inner working politics and details of the Federation and other planets. And I guess Ferenginar very well could become a member of the Federation itself. Now, it seems like the only reason that they are even considering doing that is because, as we saw in the opening of this episode, a Ferengi ship was also destroyed by the mysterious vessel that's been destroying ships left and right all season long. So it feels like this is more out of necessity, more out of them actually wanting to join. But whatever gets them to join and improves relations between the Federation and the Ferengi is probably for the best. So this episode felt like a long time coming, mostly because the stuff with Mariner and Boimler were pretty good, pretty funny. Although the stuff with Mariner was kind of aggravating. You know, she was kind of being a pill in this episode, and for no good real reason either, which was kind of annoying and aggravating. But her storyline had a satisfactory conclusion, and Boimler's was pretty funny about how he ended up following orders after all by finally cutting loose and just losing himself to binging programming on Ferengi TV all day, which was pretty funny. But this episode, I liked the focus of this episode was mostly on Rutherford and Tendi. And that feels fitting because it feels like these two have had quite the romantic chemistry, basically going back to season 1. You know, it feels like it was halfway through season 1. It was the hilarious Badgie episode, I believe it was, when it felt like there was a spark there between the two of them. And it feels like they've been growing closer and closer with each passing season. And how Rutherford has made remarks and comments about how he thinks Tendi is cute and how he tries to impress her and stuff like that. And now it seems like with their mission to pretend to be a married couple to explore the Ferengi culture and whatnot through the honeymoon program thing or whatever it was, it feels like that some deep-seated feelings, real romantic feelings, were starting to come to the surface, which is why that became increasingly more awkward and a bit more cringy for the both of them, because they realized they were saying very real things about one another that they probably had been feeling for a while. So I wouldn't be surprised if by the end of this season they became a real item, because it felt like they came awfully close in this episode to becoming a real item. So we'll see what happens with the rest of this season. You know, the season will probably continue to grow on the mysterious vessel storyline, but I wouldn't be surprised if we saw an actual romance starting to blossom between Rutherford and Tendi. I think that would be pretty cool, so we'll see what happens there. But this episode sure gave us a pretty good taste of what that could be or look like if it ever comes to that. I also loved, one of the funniest parts of this episode is I love when, before they come clean and they reveal to their Ferengi host that they're not a married couple, that another Ferengi couple was pretending to get this couple's discount in this restaurant, and it's quite punishable on Ferenginar, and they were sentenced to a life of hardship and labor. And of course their host comes by and is like, so what did you want to tell me right before I sentenced that other couple over there to a lifetime of hardship and hard labor? That was hysterical. That was super funny. I really liked that, so I enjoyed that quite a bit. This was a funny, good episode. You know, it put the Ferengi in a whole new light. It's like, it was a good reminder to us that they're not all the same, they're not all alike, that they're just as diverse a people as anybody, which is a good, you know, message, especially these days, is that it's important not to judge an entire race or entire group based on the actions of a few people, but, you know, keep in mind that every race and group, it's quite diverse and quite different from one another, despite sharing the same skin color or possible beliefs. You know, it's the same kind of message that Star Trek has always put out there, and I'm glad to see it even in a show as funny as Lower Decks. So what did you guys think of this episode? I'd love to hear your thoughts and feelings on it. Thank you so much for watching. Have a wonderful rest of your night. Star Trek Lower Decks drops new episodes every Thursday on Paramount Plus. Don't miss it. It's a fun show. Have a great rest of your night. Thanks again for watching. And excuse me. And of course, until next time, live long and prosper.